Hello everybody and welcome back to my weekly Legend of Korra Book 4 Balance Review, where we take a look at the new episode that came out and I give you my thoughts and feelings on them. We are on episode 7, so we are officially with this episode complete. We are more than halfway done with the last season so far, and this episode is entitled Reunion, and I have to ask, where was this Korra the last 2 episodes? It was so good. It reminded me of the beginning of this season. I had basically no problems with one little minor gripe, which we'll get to at the very end, and the way the episode ends. Oh, cliffhanger. So let's get into it. Alright. It's really nice to see Naga and Pabu again. I really feel like the animals in Korra are much less interesting and dynamic and cool compared to the animals that were in The Last Airbender. But I do still think they serve a place because the animals have animal spirits, whatever you want to call it, have a connection to the Avatar in their universe. And one thing I really liked about the first series were the interesting animals that were in the world, like the combination of basically other animals from our world into one being. So I'm glad Naga and Pabu are back. They really didn't do anything. They showed up really quickly, but I'm glad to see them still involved in the show. And so I found it. This isn't really a complaint. I guess this is technically a complaint, so I kind of lied just a couple of minutes ago. But when Tenzin says nobody expected her to handle Kuvira on her own, I thought that was kind of a joke. She's the Avatar, keeping the peace and balancing the world. It's pretty much the express stated purpose of the Avatar. So yes, people probably should have expected her to handle Kuvira on her own. So I just thought that was kind of ridiculous and kind of the show trying to justify that even though all the world leaders should be dealing with the Earth Empire problem, which is true, Korra versus Kuvira, Korra should have taken care of her easily. So we get back to Bolin, and I'm so glad Bolin in this episode isn't terrible. This is the Bolin that we saw at the beginning of Season 4. This is not the Bolin of the last 2 episodes who's obnoxious, serves no real purpose. I like the Bolin that can inspire people, the Bolin that can maybe one day even become like a military leader or a politician. That's the role that Bolin should be serving. And I felt like they fulfilled that quota completely, utterly, perfectly this episode with him. And I'm just very, very happy with Bolin this episode, which is something you probably will not hear me say much, that I'm perfectly happy with Bolin. This is the idea that Bolin can inspire people is, I think, the only remotely interesting thing about his storyline that they actually developed in the Book 2 storyline, where he was the star of the movies, the movers, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Then we get to the dinner with Korra and Asami and Mako and Prince Wu, and I swear to God, you guys, I'm not imagining this. They're totally flirting with the Korra and Asami relationship during the dinner. I'm not the only one who sees it. Nick, please, Nick, do it. Do it. You know you want to do it. People want to see it. Do it. So Prince Wu is back, like I said. I like that character, like I explained a couple episodes ago. I think he's interesting. I had no problem with him this episode. I like it. He's obnoxious. He's supposed to be obnoxious. He's not like how I felt about Bolin last season, where Bolin's not supposed to be obnoxiously annoying, but he came off that way to me. Prince Wu is supposed to be obnoxiously annoying, and he comes off that way to me, and I like it because that's intentional. I'm glad we see Asami again. I will always say this: Asami is a great character that they never can show enough of, I think. And we're going to talk about some other things she does later on, which just further enforce that she is so cool. Mako's back too. He's not terrible yet. The keyword is yet, so I don't know if he will become terrible again at some point, but he's just there. He doesn't seem to have much of a character, although it was kind of funny when he mentioned something at the very end of this episode, which I'll get to when we get to that part. But I like that more people who call out Korra for her crap, the better. And I like how Asami was totally right that Korra had no right or place to tell her to watch out for her father, after especially Asami knew it, but also because Korra was gone for 3 years. I'm glad that someone called her out on her bullshit, because that needs to happen more often. So we cut back to the forest. The subplot, I don't even know if it's the subplot. I think actually the Korra and the Prince Wu and Asami and Mako was the actual subplot. The Bolin and Varric seemed like the main plot this episode. We get to that part, they get to the forest. Steve Blum is back. He's voicing, I don't even know if they gave him a name, but the leader or the main male that we see in the slaves who have escaped. I like Steve Blum. I'm sure most people love him as a voice actor. I love them. I love him too. I agree. So it's good to see him back. Amon was a great villain, and his voice definitely is what helped seal him as a great villain. And Steve Blum, love him. Glad he's back. So Prince Wu gets kidnapped, and I just kind of find it funny that Korra just totally wrecks the street as they're trying to chase the car down. It's totally in line with her character, where she just doesn't really give a shit about the damage she causes in pursuit of her target. So I felt like they really kept that in line with how we've come to know Korra. And Asami, again, I'm going to refer to the end of the episode, but Asami makes a comment at the end of the episode where she basically says, "This feels just like old times." And I feel like that's a theme of this episode with the subplot of Korra and Mako and Asami. It definitely felt like Season 1 of Korra. All the good parts of Season 1 of Korra. The interactions between Korra and Mako, the interactions between Asami and Mako and Korra, the bending that happens, the more street brawl kind of bending that occurs. Definitely reminds me of the first season, and it's a good thing. I'm also in this scene where they capture one of the people who kidnapped Prince Wu and he gets arrested. I'm glad they're finally showing that Mako actually has some authority as a detective. It always felt like, ever since he got the promotion to detective at the end of Book 2, that it always seemed like the show pretended Mako was supposed to be important to the city of, the brain fart, whatever the city is called, the name of the city. It always felt like he was important. He was told that he was. My words are failing me today, guys. We were always told he was supposed to be important since he was promoted, but I never really felt like he was until now, where the cops were listening to him. He could have a direct line to Lin. He could get the police cars to come down and get the prisoners that he's captured. No one questioned his authority. This was the first time that I felt like they actually established that he is kind of higher up in the police department now, and that's good. I'm glad they're being thorough. So we see Korra use the spirit powers to find out where Prince Wu is, and I feel like some people might think I'd be mad at that, but this is the only time they've used weird spirit abilities to cure a plot problem, and I didn't have a problem with it. It didn't seem like a Deus Ex to me. Maybe it's because it was Korra who always screws up and has all these problems instead of Tenzin's oldest daughter, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head because she wasn't in the episode, where she is just like, I'll solve all the problems right away. Maybe it was because they established Korra just learned how to do this a couple episodes ago. I'm not sure why, but I had no problem with it. I found it very interesting. I actually kind of forgot that she could do that until they had her do it. So, cool. So, Bolin and Varric get kidnapped by the slaves, and my note here was, Bolin used lava bending right away to escape, guys. He's cured of Mako amnesia. So, yay! I like the idea of him teaming up with the slaves to take on the... I guess I was kind of confused as to what their ultimate plan was. Were they just going to attack the camp that was nearby to free more slaves? I don't know if I missed what they were supposed to be doing, but I was confused as to what their plan was, but it made sense that he would join up with them to fight Kuvira. So then we cut again back to Korra, where she finally tells Mako and Asami, look, I met with Toph, and I found her description of Toph to be perfect. A cranky, more miserable version of Lin. Excellent, perfect, 100% spot on. So, yeah. Now we get to where they're attacking the camp. We're back to Bolin and Bolin and Varric again, where they're attacking the prison camp. Varric is also showing how good he is in this episode, where he yells at the guard and gets them past the front gate. I really like that they're showing off in this episode why Bolin and Varric can be interesting besides from their main point, where they can show how Bolin can be interesting besides lava bending. They can show how Varric can be interesting besides his inventing. Although they do bring up lava bending and inventing later on, it's good to know that they're saying these characters have worth in another perspective. So that was also really interesting. Bolin uses lava bending to fight the mechs. He truly is cured of Mako amnesia until next episode. I guess this one he's cured of Mako amnesia because the writers didn't need him to lose or whatever. But I'm happy with that. Varric's makeshift EMP pulse whatever he did was great. I actually got kind of chills when I saw him like hooking up things together and very Tony Stark-esque, and I was like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? And he like sends the EMP pulse out and disables all the mechs, and I actually kind of got chills at that point. Very much the chills that I would feel from watching The Last Airbender, where it felt like this was a truly great scene that I'm watching. And so then they basically escape. Bolin ends up going back to save the slaves instead of just forsaking them like Varric wanted to. And I think now, after that scene, we're actually getting to see what Bolin's ultimate purpose might be as a character. You know, becoming I already mentioned it, but like a high-ranking military leader or general, or someone on par of someone on par with what's his name in the Fire Nation. General, what's his face? Listen, guys, sometimes I forget the characters' names, but the dude who's voiced by Zuko, becoming a high-ranking military leader like him, or maybe like a politician, or maybe he might run for like president of Republic City or something. I finally remember the name of the city. I don't know. Maybe that's what his ultimate purpose is, because it seems like he's good at inspiring people. He's good at helping people. That might be Bolin's ultimate purpose as a character, and I like seeing them explore that idea more. Because, like I said, they kind of hinted on it a little bit in Season 2 with him as the star of the movers, but they didn't really go anywhere with it. Now I feel like they might be going somewhere with it, and I'm very happy about it. So, we go back to, that scene's basically done. That plot is basically concluded. So we go back to Mako, Korra, and Asami, and they're on the train trying to find Prince Wu. I like that Mako and Korra turn on each other almost immediately. Like I said earlier, very much reminiscent of the first 2 seasons. It's totally in line with their characters to fight. But they eventually find him, and this is where we get to my only gripe of the episode. Korra wasn't using metal bending against the Kuvira troops on the train. She does metal bend to like open the train roof so they can escape. But I don't know why she doesn't counter metal bend against the metal benders when they're like throwing stuff at her and like trying to use whips and stuff. Even when she like grabs the whip of the one guy, she wasn't using metal bending. She just kind of grabbed it. So she knows how to metal bend. They established she knows how to metal bend and she's proficient in it. I just don't know why they don't have her counter metal bending against these people. She's the Avatar. You'd think she would use whatever she could at her disposal to escape. So I don't know if that's Mako amnesia, or if maybe they just thought it'd be easier if she just used airbending and stuff to escape, but it bummed me out a little bit. That's what my only like true criticism of the episode is. Just stop with this crap where they just forget to use bending that they know that we know they have. Stop it. I don't know why they do that. It just seems lazy, like I said last episode. So I don't know. But so we get to where they finally escaped, and Mako brings Prince Wu to his family, who is staying at Asami's house. That was an interesting revelation. I also really like the grandma. She's a great character, like I said last season. One of the few shining, interesting things from last season that kind of made its way into the actual overall Korra plot. I like how her reaction to Prince Wu was great. And I'm looking forward to see what happens now. I'm not sure if they're just going to sideline Prince Wu until the very end, because now they've got him to a safe place where nobody presumably knows where he is, or he's protected by people who are loyal to him, like the grandma and her family are presumably still loyal to, the Earth Queen's lineage. So I don't know if now that he's in a safe place, they're just going to like ignore him until the very end when Kuvira is beaten. But I like Prince Wu. I was hoping we would see an actual like transformation of his character from being on the run, but I'll be a little bummed out if they just skip till Korra's beaten and he becomes leader. Maybe he'll become Earth King or whatever, and Mako will be like his top advisor or something. That would be interesting, but I gotta wait to see what happens next. I was hoping a little bit more for some more development from him, though, like I was expressing, 2 or 3 episodes ago when we were talking about him. So we're at the very end of the episode, and Kuvira and Bataar Jr., they're testing out some spirit energy on some vines, and I was like, where are they? Are they at the swamp? Are they at the swamp? They're at the swamp! They're at Toph's swamp! You cannot tell me that Toph is not going to show back up again, because they're mining spirit vines from Toph's swamp. Come on now. Come on now. Alright. So that's the episode. Like I said, really no problems with it. I wish this was how the last 2 episodes were. I wish they were as good as this one in the first 4. It's weird they had like 4 really good episodes and like a drop for 2, and now they're back up. I don't understand and the ones that were bad weren't even bad because they like needed to tell plot. There's always sometimes a reason where a story or an episode of a show is not great because they have to further the plot along, and sometimes that's not as interesting. But they further the plot along a lot. Last episode and the one before that, and I just still found it bad. So I don't know why. I don't know what the perfect combination of things are, but I really hope they go back to making this as good as it should be. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. We're at episode 8. We're on the second half of the season now, so keep crossing your fingers that it's going to be good. But until then, I'll see you next time. Farewell.